Bidding wars are back to the Canadian real estate market. Houses are getting 85 offers. The Toronto real estate market is roaring back. It's red hot. All the real estate agents across Canada are talking how busy the Canadian real estate market is. But is it really that busy? Or is this just all hype? Hey there, and welcome back to Bald Prairie Real Estate. My name is Matthew Pfeifer, real estate agent in Regina. That's my trusted assistant, Matilda. This is the monthly Canadian real estate market update here on Bald Prairie Real Estate for February 2024. We're going through 11 major real estate markets, telling you what's going on, because a lot of the hype in the news articles right now and across the internet is saying how red hot things are getting in the Canadian real estate market. But is that actually true? Because yes, of course, compared to last year, the worst year in 20 or 30 years in some cases for these Canadian real estate markets, yeah, things are up from that. But really, in comparison, it's rather weak start to the year for some, but others are absolutely red hot. So let's find out what's going on. But of course, let's start off with another one of my terrible bad dad jokes. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. If you have a terrible joke that I can use in a future episode, put it in the comments below. Let's get into this month's Canadian real estate market update. Now, if you are thinking about buying or selling a house, if you're in Regina, of course, I'd love to help you out. Matilda will come along. She left. She didn't like the terrible joke. But if you're somewhere else in Canada, you don't already have a great real estate agent, I have a network of great real estate agents across the country. If you look in the description of this video, there's gonna be a link into my calendar where I'm gonna book you in for a call to learn what's important to you in a house and also what's important to you in a real estate agent. I'm gonna get you paired up with that perfect agent for you in your market. The 341 homes sold in Victoria last month is down 20%, normally about 430 homes sell in the month, while the 980 homes that were newly listed for sale is up about 16% from that 5-year average of about 840. And the 2,140 homes that are currently for sale in Victoria is up about 31% from the 5-year average. Normally about 1,600 homes are for sale this time of year, and it leaves months of inventory at 6.3. So in a buyer's market, but that is a reverse trend and it's going back towards a balanced market. When it comes to home prices, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price Victoria has it at $853,000, and it's up 1% year over year, but down 12% from the peak we saw in April of 2022. The word balance, I believe, was mentioned 6 separate times in the Victoria Real Estate Association's press release, and that's a good thing. I don't care what is said in the press releases. I always call agents in these local markets to figure out exactly what's going on. And yeah, okay, you know what? There's some truth to that we saw a better balance between sellers and buyers. Sorry, I had to go with it there. But I think the word stability is more appropriate. Outside of last year, this past January saw the fewest number of homes sold in the Victoria real estate market in the better part of a decade. And while inventory is up 31% versus the 5-year rolling average that I used, it's actually very much in line of what the numbers were in that 2015-2016 type time frame in Victoria. And I think this is going to be a common theme you're going to hear talk about Victoria and other markets as I go through this month's market update. And that is that good houses, those ones that show well, the ones that are priced well, they're going to see lots of activity and very likely multiple offers, especially in a market, and this is Canada-wide, where there typically is more buyers than there is supply, even though we've seen kind of things start to balance out. Now, agents are telling you that they are getting more phone calls, there's more showing requests, more people open houses, and some of that absolutely is seasonality. But there is a noticeable uptick in activity that they've seen to start the year. In Vancouver, the 1,400 homes that sold last month is down 16% from my 5-year rolling average of just under 1,700. While the almost 3,800 homes that were newly listed for sale is down 10% from that 5-year average, where only about 4,200 homes are listed for sale a month. And the 8,600 homes that are currently for sale in Vancouver right now is up 6% from that 5-year average. Usually about 8,100 homes are for sale this time of year, leaving months of inventory in Vancouver at 6.3, making Vancouver a buyer's market. When it comes to home prices in Vancouver, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price has Vancouver at $1.16 million. That's up 4% year over year. It is down 6% from the peaks we saw in 2022, where it was about $1.26 million. And 5 months in a row, home prices in Vancouver have dropped. Now let's go through the headlines here, because we saw a lot of people and a lot of news headlines saying how home sales in Vancouver were up 50%. Yes, they were, only compared to last January, which was the worst January in over a decade in Vancouver. This past month was actually the 3rd slowest January in that past decade. So not really the busiest market, but an uptick from the previous year. It's also a noticeable jump from the December stats, where that gap versus the 5-year average was cut in half. So don't discount when the agents, especially early in the month, were saying, hey, things are getting busier. I saw a lot of that online, a lot of people not believing it. Absolutely, things are busier. The Vancouver real estate market is expecting home prices to increase 2 to 3% through 2024. And I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the year we look back on that as being actually potentially a little bit conservative. We'll have to wait and see where the year goes. The 1,650 homes sold in Calgary last month is up 36% versus that 5-year average of 1,200. But the 2,100 homes that were newly listed for sale in the month is down 12%. Usually it's about 2,400. And the 2,150 homes that are currently for sale in Calgary is down 48% versus that 5-year average. Usually there's over 4,100 homes for sale this time of year. So months of inventory in Calgary is at 1.3, and that reverses a trend we'd seen for a couple of months where months of inventory had actually been increasing. When it comes to home prices, the Canadian Real Estate Association comes a benchmark price for Calgary, $572,000, up 10% year over year, and basically tied with the all-time high they saw just a couple of months ago. So Calgary is one of those markets where the hype is absolutely deserved. It is very busy in the Calgary real estate market, and we had been seeing things kind of slowing down in the tail end of 2023. That has reversed. Again, 1 month doesn't make a trend, but a very noticeable reverse in that slowing down to start 2024. When this is something that I noticed kind of across the country, usually month over month inventory and months of inventory increases pretty much in any real estate market in Canada from December to January. And we saw in Calgary, and this is true again across Canada in many cities, it actually decreased. We saw lower months of inventory and lower overall inventory levels. In fact, right now, this is the fewest number of homes Calgary's seen for sale since the boom times of the early 2000s. When I'm creating these videos, I always call agents and ask them, like, tell me what's going on in your market, what's hot, what neighborhoods, what price points, etc. And in Calgary, they're basically telling me pretty much everything. Not only is it very active, sales actually increased quite significantly in essentially every single price category. If you take townhouses, for example, there's less than 1 month's worth of inventory. It is crazy how tight the inventory is there. And again, this is compared to January last year in Calgary, which was not like Toronto, where it was very slow. The Calgary real estate market last January was a very busy one. So seeing an increase from that is pretty noticeable. So starting off 2024, the Calgary real estate market looks like it's going to continue that trend of a very busy and active market. I expect it to continue to be Canada's hottest real estate market. In Edmonton, the 1,400 homes sold last month is up an astounding 41% for the 5-year average, which is just over 1,000. And the 2,200 homes newly listed for sale is down 6% from the 5-year average of 2,300. When it comes to active inventory, the 4,500 homes currently for sale in Edmonton, down 23% from that 5-year average. Usually it's closer to 5,900. And that leaves months of inventory at 3.2, right on the edge between a seller's market and a balanced market in Edmonton. As for prices, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price for Edmonton, $367,000. That's up 3% year over year. It is down about 8% from the peak we saw in 2022, which was just over $400,000. I've been expecting for a while that the activity in the Calgary real estate market was going to spill over to Edmonton, and we see that start to take off. And that's what we've started now to see in the data. This past January in Edmonton was the busiest January for home sales that I think they've ever had, for sure in the last decade. I've been digging through old data to see if I can find a busier January, and I haven't found one yet. And usually you see months of inventory increase at the start of the year. Instead, we saw a decrease, and that's going to be a common theme in many Canadian cities right now. The strong months of sales pushed the months of inventory back down to 2022 levels, and we know how crazy busy the market was then. Agents in Edmonton are telling me that they're seeing it not just obviously in the sales numbers, but they're seeing more multiple offers in those multiple offers, more people at open houses, more showing requests, etc. And of course, we are seeing some of that foreign buyer money, Toronto, Vancouver money, looking at trying to buy investment properties, apartments specifically in Edmonton right now. In Regina, the 180 homes sold last month is up 19% from the 5-year average of 150. And there were 311 homes new lists for sale in the month. That's down 7% from the 5-year average, which is about 340. So that leaves active inventory below 600 in Regina, down 36% from the 5-year average. Usually it's about 900 this time of year. Months of inventory is 3.3, right on that edge between a seller's market and a balanced market in Regina. When it comes to home prices in Regina, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price is almost $302,000. That is down 2% year over year, down about 10% from the peaks we saw of $330,000 in the middle of 2022, but it is an increase from the previous month. This past month was the 5th busiest January all time in the history of Regina, only to January 2021 and the boom years from 2006 through 2009. The number that really jumped off the paper at me was the month over month decrease in active inventory. It almost always increases through the spring, and we saw that drop. In fact, it's usually a 10% increase month over month. So we saw a drop, which is surprising. The real problem I'm seeing is those are looking for single family homes in that $300,000 to $500,000 price point, a very popular price point in Regina. Typically, it's about 30% of all the sales in a given year. Right now, all the active inventory, less than 20% of that is priced between that price point. The 245 homes sold last month in Saskatoon is up 7% from their 5-year average of 230. And the 364 homes that were new lists for sale in the month is down 36% from that 5-year average. Usually it's about 550. When it comes to active inventory, the 550 homes currently for sale in Saskatoon is down absolutely eye-watering 51%. Usually there's over 1,100 homes for sale right now. That means months of inventory is 2.2, second only to Calgary in Canada. When it comes to home prices in Saskatoon, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price is $372,000 right now, up 2% year over year, and down just under 1% from the all-time highs we saw in the fall of last year. This past January was one of the busiest Januaries in the Saskatoon real estate market's history. Only 2021 and the 2006-2009 boom years saw more homes sold in January. And it's not looking good for buyers hoping to see more inventory come to the market. That 360 homes new list for sale, that's December levels of new listings, not January or February levels. And when it comes to the active inventory, there's actually fewer homes for sale in Saskatoon right now than Regina. Obviously, Saskatoon is about 10 to 15% larger than Regina, so they should have more active inventory. They don't. In the Winnipeg real estate market, the almost 660 homes sold in the month is down 8% from the 5-year average of just over 700, while the almost 1,600 homes that were newly listed for sale in the month is exactly equal to that 5-year average. When it comes to homes for sale, there's currently about 3,000 homes for sale in Winnipeg, which is exactly equal to the 5-year average. And that leaves months of inventory at 4.6, basically right in the middle of a balanced market. When it comes to home prices, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price in Winnipeg is just under $335,000. That is up 2% year over year. It's also the first month over month increase since the spring of last year, but prices are down about 11% since the peak of 2022. When I'm talking with real estate agents in Winnipeg, they noted that the months of inventory dropped just slightly month over month, and that month over month price gain was a little bit surprising. Usually you see home prices increase in the spring real estate market in Winnipeg, but we're not quite there yet, even though the weather's been really nice recently. The hot price point is at $300,000 to $450,000, and that's not surprising at all because that is one of the more affordable options in Winnipeg, and that's generally where most buyers are looking. So if you're looking to buy a house in Winnipeg in that price point, expect you're not going to find a ton of inventory, and there's going to be some more competition from buyers this spring. In Toronto, that 4,200 homes sold in a month is down 13% from that 5-year average. Usually it's about 4,800 this time of year. And the 8,300 homes new lists for sale in the month, down 2% from the 5-year average. Usually it's about 8,500. When it comes to active inventory, there's just over 10,000 homes currently for sale in Toronto. That's up 28% though from that 5-year average. Usually it's about 7,900 this time of year, but months of inventory, 2.9, right on the edge between a seller's market and a balanced market. That's numbers wise how tight things actually are in Toronto right now. When it comes to home prices in Toronto, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price is $1.06 million. That is equal exactly year over year, but it is now down 21% from the peaks we saw in 2022. At one point, that composite benchmark price was $1.32 million, and it did decrease again month over month. But this was the smallest month-over-month decrease since prices started dropping in the late spring and early summer of last year. The news headlines were all talking about how Toronto's real estate market was roaring back to life. And again, of course, they're always comparing year over year. That's why I do this 5-year rolling average. Talking about houses getting 85 offers, bidding wars are back. It's going crazy. Let's go behind the headlines and actually look at what's happening here. So talking straight facts, sales were up substantially, 36% year over year. But that was compared to January 2023, which was the slowest January in Toronto in 20 years. And this year over year stat can be easily skewed by a bad month or good month. And that's why I go with that 5-year rolling average. This past January, though, was basically middle of the pack for a January for the last 10 years in Toronto. So about half the years were better, about half the years were worse. I really call that roaring back to life. The big thing I noticed of all my charts is the gap versus the 5-year average was cut in half from what it was the previous month. So again, activity is picking up for sure. The other thing that was a little bit unusual is that generally we see active inventory increase, and this past month we saw it decrease. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, it's very likely we're going to see an increase in sales next month, just like we potentially going to see price increases next month as well. That happens a lot in this spring. Will there be agents running around saying it's going crazy and things are going to boom? Yep, that's going to happen. That's why you have to take the emotions out of this and look at the data. And that's what I love doing, is going through all the numbers here. There are people that are going to tell you it's going crazy. There's people that are going to tell you it's going to crash. Of course, the story is always somewhere in the middle. Go back to the data, go back to the stats, look at that. So don't get caught up in all the emotions, both sides of the argument, go to the numbers, and that's what I love doing in these market updates. In the Ottawa real estate market, the over 620 homes sold in the month is actually down 23%. The 5-year average is 820. And the almost 1,300 homes that were newly listed for sale in Ottawa is up 4% from the 5-year average, which is just a little over 1,200. While there's currently under 2,000 homes for sale in the Ottawa real estate market, that's actually up 14% from the 5-year average, which is 1,700. But that does leave months of inventory at 3, meaning it's right on the edge between a balanced market and a seller's market. When it comes to home prices, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price for Ottawa is just under $620,000. That's up 3% year over year, but it is down 15% from the peaks we saw in March of 2022. Now be careful when you hear things in press releases or from other people that sales are up in Ottawa. Yeah, they're up from last January, which is the worst January they've had in a very long time. They're still well below the 5-year rolling average I keep track of, but agents are telling me they're seeing kind of an uptick in activity, and part of that is absolutely seasonal. They're getting more phone calls, more people open houses, and the most active price point is under $600,000. That's that more affordable price point in Ottawa, and they are starting to see some more multiple offers in there. The active inventory dropped significantly from December to January. That's typical as well, but it is still relatively high in comparison to where it has been in previous years. But that's more due to the fact inventory has been chronically low in Ottawa for years now. And even at 3 months of inventory, which would be kind of considered a little bit on the higher side compared to recent memory, it's a significant drop from last month's 4.3. In Montreal, there was almost 2,100 homes sold in the month, but that is still down 31% from the 5-year average of 3,000. And the 5,400 homes that were newly listed for sale in the month is up 2% from the 5-year average of 5,300. While the 16,300 homes currently for sale in Montreal is up 7% from the 5-year average, which is 15,700. And that leaves months of inventory in Montreal at 8.1, well into a buyer's market. When it comes to home prices in Montreal, the Canadian Real Estate Association's composite benchmark price is about $505,000. That's up 4% year over year, but is down 7% from the peaks we saw in 2022. Seeing these really high months of inventory, if you're from pretty much anywhere else in Canada, seems really high, but Montreal typically has had more inventory and more months of inventory than many other cities in Canada. So 8.1 is actually closer to more normal for them than it is for many other cities. Now, when I'm talking with agents, obviously sales are down 31%. That's pretty significant, but they are saying that they're getting more phone calls. Things are starting to pick up. You know, it's typical seasonality, but also there has been more of an uptick from buyers who a year ago had put things on hold. They're seeing higher interest rates going, I'm just going to sit things out, a lot of uncertainty. Now they're saying, well, this is what interest rates are. This is the new normal. I'm going to make a purchase now in 2024, so they are seeing more activity than kind of they expected going into this year. As part of my research for these monthly updates, I always ask agents, what's the hot price point or what's the hot product? In Montreal right now, anything below $1 million is selling much better than things above $1 million. In Halifax, we're no longer comparing year over year because I finally got all the data for the last couple of years, and now we're comparing versus the 5-year rolling average, like all other Canadian cities. So the 227 sales, that's down 31% versus the 5-year average of 330. And the 414 homes that were new listed for sale, that's up 55% from the 5-year average of 266. But the 900 homes currently for sale in Halifax is down 36% from the 5-year average of 1,400. And that puts months of inventory at 3.9, kind of right in the middle of a balanced market. When it comes to home prices, I still have to use average price because they don't do composite benchmark price. $582,000, up 6% year over year. It's crazy to think that only a year and a half ago, we were talking about Halifax having less than a month's worth of inventory, and now they're at 3.9, kind of balancing things out. Of course, as always, it's very much going to be price point and area specific. Agents in Halifax are saying, hey, we are seeing things kind of start to pick back up, typical of some seasonality, but also anything under $450,000 or around that price point, selling really, really well. Obviously more expensive price points, not selling quite as well. And for the first time, I think in a really long time, at least as far as I've been paying attention to Halifax, the list to sale price was below 100% at about 98%. So still basically asking price. And they're saying that when it comes to properties that have the ability to have a rental suite, so they already have like a basement suite or laneway suite, those are selling well. And maybe even more so, the houses that don't have those built, but could be easily added to a house. So adding that basement suite through renovation, those are selling really well right now in Halifax. That's what's going on for February 2024 in the Canadian real estate market. Let me know, what are you seeing? Is it busy in the markets that you're looking at, or how is this selling quickly? Or is it more kind of a balanced normal year, maybe even ice cold? If you like this video, please give this video a like. The YouTube algorithm really likes that, and I appreciate it too. Subscribe to Bald Prairie Real Estate to keep up to date on the Canadian real estate market. And as always, thanks very much for watching.